there's so much said about leadership, but I like a little quote from Ronald Reagan, who said that the greatest leader is not necessarily the one who does the greatest things. He's the one who gets people to do the greatest things. And I saw that as my role.
In today's edition of Humans of Steel, we're going to be talking to Noel Davies, who is Director of HydroLink, former chair of HERA, a naval leader, and someone whose career has been defined by service, stewardship, and lifting up others along the way. He's a strong supporter of the fact that people make the company, and it's just amazing. So let's see what he's got to say. Well, Noel, thank you so much for taking the time to join us. We are working on Humans of Steel because the steel industry in New Zealand has had a massive boom, and over the last 50 years, the changes and the incremental changes that the people have made for this industry have been incredible. So we really wanted to speak to all the people that make such a big difference to the industry as well. So thank you so much for coming on and speaking to us. We'll jump right into it. And I was kind of looking up about you, and I saw that you've spent 21 years in the Navy before you got into the engineering side of things. And I'm curious as to what kind of brought forth that change.
Well, I'm from Timaru originally. My dad was a commercial fisherman in Timaru, and I've always liked the sea. I've been a sailor and what have you. So I joined the Navy when I was 16, and had to finish my schooling through the Navy. And at the age of 28, I was a lieutenant commander. So I came up through the ranks very, very quickly, and the Navy just suited me. I'm come from a family of 10, so fitting in was easy. Yeah.
Wow. And kind of, how did the Navy experience shape the kind of leader you became in the steel industry?
Well, the good thing about the military is they focus a lot on training. You will not be put into a job if you haven't been trained for it. And to me, that's stuck with me. Even in HydroLink, we have the same philosophy. But I did professional courses, I did leadership courses, I did management courses, I went to staff college, all about leadership and management, coaching, that sort of thing. So to me, the biggest thing was about people. It's all about people.
And it's quite interesting because whoever I've met from the military or the Navy, they've always had this immaculate sense of discipline and routine as well. And did you see that kind of carry forward as you started HydroLink?
Yes. Well, in some ways, yes. I certainly I established a board very quickly. So we had a chairman and an independent chairman. I have a business partner, so the chairman really, apart from the governance side, he acted as referee should we have a disagreement, that sort of thing. But we were also pretty meticulous in strategic planning. We developed our second year into business. We started planning and we set our goals. When we bought the business, we were turning over 1.5 million a year. Now we turn over in excess of 100 million.
Wow. I mean, that's a massive trajectory. I'm sure the board's very happy with that.
I don't know about the board, the shareholders are.
And I mean, when you were looking back at HydroLink across New Zealand and Australia, what were some of the biggest moments that you felt defined your career?
When I came out of the Navy in 1985, I was working for a publicly listed group, and then things weren't looking good in sort of 88, around that 87, 88. And so I made an offer to buy HydroLink, which was a tiny little division of the company, and they said yeah. And then So we were due to go unconditional on the purchase, and the receivers stepped into the group, and so we had to deal with them, and that was really tough. So not only did we have, starting off on a new business, we were in receivership. We had our competitors saying, don't work with these guys, they're in receivership, you lose your money, sort of thing. And so that from the very beginning it was tough, but you weather the tough bits and good bits come, and they did.
I mean, just over the decades of your work with HydroLink within the sector as well, I feel a lot has changed. I mean, especially in the last 2 years as well, right? So how did you what shifts have you witnessed firsthand when it came to the steel industry and the changes in it as well?
I think the big thing is the impact of artificial intelligence, just the availability of different software and things like that. It's aided. I was involved with HERA for 30 years, and I have to say the fundamentals, because you're working with steel, you're cutting it, you're bending it, you're welding it, you're whatever it is the same. But the tools to help the engineers do that, that changed quite significantly, and also the equipment to do it. Big advances in welding equipment and laser cutting and all that sort of thing. So, but it doesn't matter what advances in technology that happen, it's still about people. And I think, coming from the military, I've found, and going into my own business, I found that we had to put more focus on people. You've got to look after them, otherwise they just wouldn't stay. And I think, to me, that's the best thing that the Navy taught me, but also just from years of experience, is it's all about the people.
Yeah, and especially if people come and they don't stay on that long and leave, then the question is, well, we're not only just losing resources, for example, but it's also just about building that culture. And I feel like it's important whenever, as an organization, if you're trying to accomplish a strategy that's been built out, without that culture, it actually you may not be able to accomplish that strategy. So it's so important for the people to be with you throughout that experience and having a good culture within there as well.
Oh, culture's everything.
Yeah.
It's and one of the you don't always get everything right, and I've made a few mistakes in my time, particularly employing a couple of CEOs, and what I found there is when I discovered I'd made a mistake, and you see that pretty quickly, especially as a CEO, then you've got to act quickly. You've got to show the team that you made a mistake and you're going to fix it.
Yeah. Have you also, in terms of all the kind of projects that were worked on in New Zealand and Australia during your time, have you noticed a shift in the processes involved from decades ago up until now? Have you noticed processes kind of change the way people do things, or has that significantly
the big one, of course, was COVID, and people were working from home. That was a huge change, and that also made it more difficult to develop a culture in your business, because people weren't there half the time. And but when we came out of COVID, it was interesting. We had just about every person in the company say they wanted to come back to work, work in the office. So, which was fantastic. Wow,
yeah. I mean, I guess after 4 years or a couple of years of being in lockdown, you kind of are itching to just spend some time with humans again, in a space that actually work, because you feel more productive in a way. And you were also on the board of HERA during COVID.
Yeah.
What did governance really look like when the sector was facing so much uncertainty?
Oh, well, HERA was, if I look back on the 30 years, HERA went through some tough times. We established the foundation, which we put the building into, and we separated it from HERA to protect it. And, it was... I know the foundation had to lend HERA money because we weren't getting the levies through on steel, and yet we wanted to keep on doing the things that HERA does, and we didn't want to cut back. We didn't want to lose staff. So, but again, we got through those tough times, and when I look at the board I had a fantastic board. I had Dr. Wolfgang Schultz was the CEO. He was fantastic, and everyone was aligned. There wasn't any disharmony. I can't think of one person who was there for themselves. They were all for the good of HERA, if you like. And again, when I look at the steel industry, the heavy engineering industry, there's some amazing people there. There are, I can think of a number of them. They work so hard in their businesses, but they also give so much to the industry. It's fabulous.
It has been quite interesting to see a board that's come from so many different sectors of the steel industry to really come together with one ambition in mind and one goal in mind, which is to future-proof our industry. And I feel like this is the first organization I've noticed where the research is all about the impact that it can have on the industry and what the industry can actually do. Because I've looked at a lot of academic research, and it's not necessarily giving you a pathway of how you can implement that within the sector as well. So it's quite interesting to see that HERA has built this culture of, well, everyone kind of has their inputs and is aligned, like you said, as well. So it's interesting to see, because COVID-19 was a tumultuous time, to say the least. And the fact that you were able to come out of that better than before is quite a testament to, the board and how you function as well.
Well, to me, it's about leadership, and I just think back to I like, there's so much said about leadership, but I like a little quote from Ronald Reagan, who said that the greatest leader is not necessarily the one who does the greatest things. He's the one who gets people to do the greatest things, and I see that. I saw that as my role as chairman when I was chairman of HERA. That was my role. We were here to enable the team here to do their jobs and do it for the good of the steel industry.
And it does speak to the point of capability building being such an important aspect of leadership as well. And, could you help tell me, how did you really get people to push themselves or inspire or motivate people to really have that ability to kind of go forward?
Well, it's easy. It was easy because they're all volunteers, if you like. They're all passionate about the steel industry, and they all want to see it perform. They wanted to see it successful. So then it's just a case of getting clarity about what our role is, and also to ensure that and this is something that we did quite early, was let the board know there is a difference between governance and management. And there was a little tendency every now and then someone would try and step into the management, but it's generally it was just fantastic. It wasn't difficult to get people to do things or agree or whatever. It was because we're all pretty aligned.
Yeah, I think. That's
and we
the
had a very detailed plan about the year ahead, and we would sign off on that plan, and that really was the okay for the CEO and the team to get on with things.
Wow. Yeah, I feel like even at the IOD course that I recently did, there was a really good analogy that was put forth where the ship is the organization, the CEO is the captain of the ship, and the board's the helicopter that's kind of looking out to the horizon, future planning for the ship to give it the right path. The helicopter never really lands on the ship, and the CEO kind of takes care of everything as well. And I don't think I've ever seen such an interesting analogy to how governance should look like as well. And the fact that the ability to do that during COVID, when everything is so uncertain and it's unsure, is absolutely amazing to see.
But that's the benefit of having a good plan as well. And the plans here, I have to say, HERA, when I was involved, were very detailed. And so once the team got signed off, you could just about leave them to it. Actually, it was funny when I first joined HERA, because I'm an entrepreneur. I don't know how many businesses I've owned, and Hydralink's my main one, but I've been involved in robotics and air quality, all sorts of things, boat building, motorbikes, all sorts of things. And so I've had to make decisions quick. And one of the things I found hard when I came to HERA was I found that engineers like to think about things. They like to deliberate it, and trying to get them to speed up the process. That was to me, it was frustrating initially until I got used to it. And and you can see why that was. It's a bit like accountants and engineers. They're working with precise measurements, and things have to be right. So I could understand why they moved like they did, but I found it hard.
Especially when the stakes are so much higher as well. With a much bigger build, and you kind of need to make sure every single calculation is as accurate as possible. Because, one wrong calculation, you don't know what's going to happen 5 years from after the build happens as well.
One of the funny things, my wife used to come to the conferences and what have you, and she was amazed on the first one she went to, and for the award session, and these photographs of the buildings or the bridges or whatever it was that the industry had manufactured. She said, "This is like looking at art."
Yeah.
And it really is. Yeah. This industry makes, manufactures, builds, constructs amazing things, just amazing. And people drive past them every day and don't realise the work that's gone.
Extent of it, right? You look at the fact that because we recently visited New Zealand Steel as well, and just being able to see how the steel's actually made. And then to imagine the fact that, our bridges have all of these components, and to see from where it's come from to what it's been designed into, and the amount of load it's holding, the scale at which it's built, it's quite fascinating. And I never expected I would think that way. And, now that I've kind of come into the steel industry as well, I'm just like, wow, okay, that's incredible to see. And you were also you were a strong mentor as well from whatever, from all the 30 years that you've been here. And I'm just wondering, from a governance perspective, what do you think industry leaders need most in moments such as COVID-19 or stressful kind of times as well?
Well, the one thing I've been lucky with was I've always had good mentors. And when I was growing up, my grandfather was hugely important in my life. And then when I joined the Navy, I had a commander, Colin Ashbridge, who took me under his wing. And he was the one who said, "I want you to go through and become an officer." And so that's when I had to do my school cert in UE by correspondence. And then later, when I got into industry, I had a guy called Bruce Cole, and he was chairman of quite a few companies. They were all amazing people. And I think everyone in a leadership role should try and get a mentor, should try and get someone that they can talk to, because it's not always easy. I know when I go home, if I had a problem, the last thing I really wanted to do was talk to my wife about it, because she would get concerned, she'd want to talk about it, I'd have to relive it. And but I joined a business organisation called Young Presidents, and that was great because all these guys were in business, and they all had issues and aspirations and stuff, and so you could talk about anything. And so to me, it's important that you're not alone. You should have someone there you can confide in, talk to, bounce ideas off. And there are plenty of those people around. There's so much experience in this industry. And the young people in particular, all they've got to do is reach out and ask them. And I've never come across one leader who has said no to...
Yeah, no, that's always important, because I do feel like you end up learning so much more than you would. And definitely, when you talk to your partner about it, it's more going to be a venting session than, oh, these are some solutions I can actually use as well, from someone that's in the industry, understands the ins and outs of it. It's quite, mentorship definitely is incredible. Have you mentored other people as well? I mentor at the moment 3 people. One I've been doing for 30 years. But we only meet twice a year, and but I'm a member of the Entrepreneurs Organisation, so part of that is you mentor people as well. So I see it as just my role now. One of the roles I have in my life is trying to help younger people succeed. Well, I'm so glad that you're at that table, helping the younger generation, especially when things are changing so fast and the technology that's coming out is coming out at an incremental speed as well. So the need to adapt quickly is really important. And I feel like sometimes younger generations can potentially get a bit overwhelmed as well when it comes into a leadership and governance aspect, and then really having to look at, okay, there's 500 different new technologies that we can use. How do you really assess what works best for the industry and for the organization as well?
Yeah. Well, it's interesting though that what I've found is that the fundamentals of business, doesn't matter what business you're in, they're the same. And that's why I've been chairman of a robotics company, chairman of an air quality company. When I bought Hydraulic, I didn't know anything about hydraulics, didn't know anything about robotics, didn't know anything about air quality. But the fundamentals of business are the same. How you do it is different. Yep. And that's the something when I came into HERA, by the way. I classed HERA as a business, and it's quite a substantial business now. And so the fundamentals are the same. Now, I wouldn't expect anyone at that board to ask me how do I build something, because I wouldn't know, and I don't know. And that's why you have experts. That's why we have experts in the hydraulic business. That's why the whole team at the air quality business, we're experts in that. Yeah. And I didn't need to be. And I think that's something as well, that younger people, when they come up through the ranks and they get into either owning their own business or in a leadership role, they've got to trust the people who are under them. Train them, let them get on with it. I've always said, if you're going to give someone make them accountable for something, you've got to give them the responsibility for it and the authority to do it. Yeah. And if you don't do those 3 legs of that stool, it'll collapse.
Yeah. Well, that actually directly leads into the next question I had, because you were the chair of the HERA Foundation, and you've helped support so many scholarships and really helped in recognizing excellence in the younger generation. So what do you think why do you think investing in that next generation is such an important aspect for the steel industry?
Well, it's important for not just the steel industry, it's important for all industry. You won't have an industry without people coming through. And that's why I think it's an obligation of today's managers to upskill themselves so they know how they can get the best out of the younger people coming through, because they are different. Yeah. And they've got to learn how to get the best out of those people and invest in them. Again, going back to our earlier discussion about training, they have to invest in training. And to me, a training is not about a cost. It is an investment. And if you invest in people, it shows you care for them and you want them to succeed. And so that's one thing I think that today's managers need to do, is look after the people and invest in them.
Is that something you experienced as well when you were a lot younger, where people really moved needles by investing in you and giving you that time? And kind of, have you noticed that culture has stayed the same, or have you noticed the culture has shifted more positively in today's time?
No, I think it's still the same. People want to be valued, and at Hydrolink we started a We Care program, and so we sat down and articulated that we care about our staff, we care about our customers, we care about our suppliers. So it's so important, and the culture that we have developed is a family culture. We have conferences, so all the families come to those conferences, but it's a business family as well. We want people to feel welcome, we want them to feel valued, and all the other things that go with it. And again, it's up to today's leaders to show the new generation that they will be valued and they'll be upskilled and all those things that go with it.
I mean, just listening and speaking to you today, it just kind of dawns on you that you spent decades, not just serving businesses, but the wider industry as well. And what does really stewardship of the steel and heavy engineering community mean to you personally? Although I'm not an engineer, and it was, it was funny coming in as a non-engineer and being chairman of this whole team of people who are all involved in engineering. And it didn't take long for me to realise what an amazing group of people they are. The passion they have for the industry is amazing. It's absolutely amazing, and I think that just shines through. This is good. I mean, I feel like the question is, what does stewardship of the steel and heavy engineering community really mean to you? Because even though you're not an engineer, you've made such a massive impact on the industry, not just through HERA Foundation or Hydrolink, through so many other avenues. I think just the idea of the steel engineering community having stewards and guardians of sorts in a way where they're taking it forward, what does that mean to you personally?
I'm hugely supportive of that, because every industry needs leaders. I was involved for 18 years in the Medical Research Foundation, and what I saw there was these amazing researchers, doctors, professors, what have you, who worked in New Zealand, and they could have left and gone to Australia or America or whatever, earned twice as much or 3 times as much, but they didn't. They stayed in New Zealand, and they were doing amazing work for the good of not only the people of New Zealand, but also the world. and they were passionate about it. And I see that as the same sort of thing for the heavy engineering or steel industry, is that there are leaders here and who I think step up. In the years that I've been here, there are people that you can go and shoulder tap and ask them to do something for the good of the industry, and they just get on and do it. And it's good to see that these leaders are still coming through. And they're younger. And during the time that I was at HERA, there was a constant change on the board, and there was a change for more younger people to come on, which is a sign of a healthy industry to me.
Yeah, I definitely agree. Oh, this next one's a heavy one, good sir. When you think about your legacy, what would make you proud about the future direction of HERA and the steel sector?
Well, that's a tough one. Well, I don't see a legacy as such, I think, but what I am pleased to see, and when I came into the building, it was great to see the Innovation Centre underway. We worked on that for years, and so it's great to see that. It's great to see that HERA is going from strength to strength, that it's financially sound, it's still got the same aspirations, and again, it's good to see good young people involved, and so I think there's a real brightness of future for the steel industry.
Yeah, I completely agree. Noel, congratulations, you got the Order of New Zealand 2 years ago. Tell us more about that.
Well, I have to say it came as a surprise, but so it was for services to engineering, services to the community, and services to business. They were the three elements. But I'm sure that the engineering side, my 30 years at HERA, I have a feeling that Wolfgang Schultz was responsible for putting me up. But you don't do these things for your self-glory or whatever, and it came as a huge surprise, and I was very honoured, and I was very honoured to be recognised for my services, particularly to the engineering industry.
Look, 30 years is no small feat, Noel. I mean, please do not play this down. You've also written a book, which is because you spoke so much to governance and leadership in businesses, and you've worked with so many businesses in your 30 years. Tell me more about the book you've written.
Well, I got involved with so many young people who got into business, and they would do things that really put their business at risk. And what I ended up by doing, and as part of my mentoring, is I was refereeing fights. And I thought, this is crazy. I can't understand why they would do these things. And so I decided to write a book, and it's called The Guide to Successful Business Partnerships, because everyone I spoke to said, do not get into a partnership. I've been in about 16 of them, and they're fine, but you've got to have checks and balances. And so what I did is I wrote this book, and it's got a lot of checklists in it, things to do. For instance, a simple thing like every Friday, my business partner in Hydrolink and I would meet and have lunch together, and we would share an agenda so there were no surprises, and we would just talk about things, talk about the business, talk about people, talk about things that we weren't happy with and what have you. But and so that was a simple thing. But the book was really geared towards people who were thinking of getting into business, and in particular partnerships. My wife was the proofreader, and she said, "Does this book apply to marriage?"
They are partnerships for sure, so
Absolutely.
I can see that transferring, definitely. I mean, it's so amazing to see, not just the Order of New Zealand, which which this is, really encompasses 30 years in engineering and a book to top it up. These are the kind of things that really speak to your legacy as well, Noel. And thank you so much for being a part of that journey of HERA and HERA Foundation and, the 30 years that you have given us at HERA as well. It's been truly a pleasure to speak with you.
Thank you.
Real pleasure.
It's actually been an amazing, I said I would set a new record for HERA. I said I'd do 30 years, and after 30 years I resigned. But it was an amazing journey, really was, and one that I thoroughly enjoyed. And I wish HERA all the very best for the future.
Food for thought until we see you next time on the Humans of Steel edition of Stirring the Pot. Hit subscribe if you want to keep up with all the other humans we'll be talking to. And all his details are down below, so you can always just have a look and reach out if you ever need anything.